Moving from education, from one perspective, from the Gurukulas to a new frontier for which I invite His Grace Pancharatna Prabhu. He's going to talk about online education, good, bad, and ugly, exploring the potentials and the pitfalls of World Wide Web.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much, Tapan Mishra Prabhu. He gave me this suggested title, and I found it to be very useful because all I had to do was go on Google and search for e-learning, good, the bad, and the ugly, and I got about 10 different presentations. So I got a little education myself. I only have about 20 minutes for my presentation, so I may run through some of these things a little quickly, just to get us in the mood. This is kind of the inspiration, one of the main inspirations behind ISKCON Online, which is the organization that I'm representing here. Srila Prabhupada wrote this, that go on with your organization for distribution of my books through press and other modern media. And Krishna will certainly be pleased upon you. We can use everything, television, radio, movies, or whatever there may be to tell about Krishna. So the internet wasn't there when he wrote this, but it is now. So, what do we mean by e-learning? So, it's a lot of stuff. We don't have enough time to go through every aspect of e-learning. There are many principles involved. There are video classrooms, there's interactive lessons, there's virtual classrooms, there's instructor-led and there's self-paced, there's online discussions, mobile, etc. It's a big, big world of e-learning. And it's a it's a growing world. This is, I chose this one because it looks nice, but it's actually a few years old. This $107 billion in 2015 is now somewhere around $200 billion, and it's going to be $365 billion in the next 5 years. This is a big, big business. And it's especially a big business in organizations that need to train their employees. So that's driving it. But what's happening is because corporations need this, there's a lot of innovation going on in this world, and we can use that innovation. Another statistic, I haven't put it up here, but this is affecting education across the board. Colleges traditional colleges are now facing a lot of competition. They can't just teach knowledge and skills because you can get that easily online now. They have to go much further, and many of them are failing to do that, and they're failing to exist. So what kind of learning is e-learning? Well, everything. You can have your traditional, formal type of education. You have the personal development. Yes, you can develop values through online education also. It's a little more tricky, but it can be done. This screen is going off there, but as I said, training new skills is very, very important. In our case, we can understand and learn Shastra through online education, and we can also use it to reach out to new audiences. So, the primary components of any e-learning, they're quite varied. They consist, video, especially interactive video, is a very major part. Any kind of interaction of text-based, graphics-based that you can create. Exercises, quizzes, things that people do. We'll get later on to what that means. Forums where people can discuss things. Virtual classroom environments where you have people in various places, and webinars, and at the core of it, learning management systems, or at LMS. Now, we'll just look a little closely at what are the benefits. Now, here's another case where I didn't, I felt, well, I'm not going to just write this down. Let me Google it. And I got a lot of good stuff. So here we'll just run through it. The first thing is that you can do e-learning at your own pace. This is one of the reasons why you can get 40 to 60% more achieved, less time to achieve more in a virtual training, and it's available 24/7. It's available from the comfort of your home. It costs a whole lot less to set up than building buildings and making classrooms. And it's open for people of all ages. So I Googled, as I said, I Googled this, I got that one, and then I got a few more. Okay, some more benefits of e-learning. Encourages sharing. There's room for discretion in the student has a little more room to move around in the course than they would in a classroom. You can track the achievements of your students a lot easier because they're doing it online. You see what they're doing. And this is really important. It's said, the studies show, that students actually retain up to 50, 60, 70% more from online learning than from classroom education. One of the reasons is that if you miss it in the classroom, if you were, spaced out, you didn't hear it, you can't rewind the class. You can do that in e-learning. And that wasn't the only, so okay, more benefits. You can put it as part of a blended learning. That means it's not just online. It can, just like we heard about GBC College, they have a residential section and they have the online. So you can combine the two. And it provides consistency in your training. When you do, it's a consistent platform. You're not totally dependent on the teacher. Okay, and we haven't stopped yet. It's easy to update. So it's something that you can keep fresh and new. And finally, it's environmentally friendly. So, but it's not everything. E-learning is not, it can't do everything. So what are some of the things it can't do? We already mentioned some of the things that it does well. It saves money. It's very good when there's something concise. Students can take it anywhere, 40 to 60% less time, etc., etc. But in a traditional learning environment, there are things you just can't do so well in the e-learning environment. Particularly when you're trying to get students involved in collaborating, when they're asking questions or in some sort of a role play. Students in an e-learning environment may not feel so valued as they do when they're in a classroom. And they don't learn from each other perhaps as well. And there are some other things that we're going to get into. Okay, so what are some of the risks of e-learning? Well, just what we said. The individual contribution that the teacher can make in the classroom. How many of you here have done classroom teaching? Quite a few. Okay. So I think you can understand that when you're in a classroom, like here I am sitting in your group, I can look at you. Of course, we don't have so much time. If we had more time, I might be more involved in asking you questions and something back and forth. We're learning, okay, what was your experience? What was your experience? And there's a whole environment that gets generated in a classroom that you just can't achieve when you're online, especially if it's a self-paced type of thing going on. So you're missing that. And that also means that some of those experiences, like we just had a presentation by the students of the Gurukula, they're getting an experience of living an educated and being educated through life experience. You can't really compress that into an e-learning program so well. So there are some risks. And this is an interesting one, that when you try to use e-learning, online learning, then there are going to be some students out there that they can't keep up with it, either because of the technology, or they're just not so good at that, or they're just not so strong in the techniques that are needed to succeed with e-learning. So there are risks that we have to be aware of. So our topic is the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're going to start with the ugly. All right. The first thing in ugly e-learning is that you just haven't really considered your audience. You haven't understood how they are going to interact with your content. And you then produce something that's bad quality. Okay, so quality is a big, big element of successful e-learning. E-learning, successful e-learning is quality, has a certain quality to it. The video is good video. The lighting is good. You can see the person or whatever, if it is a person speaking. The sound is clear. You can hear it nicely. There's no echoes and so on. Then another ugliness that you might find in e-learning is when the lessons just go on and on and on, and it's too long. And especially when the flow of the content is doesn't make sense. You're getting lost in it. And when the text is heavy, when it's visually unappealing, in other words, when it's boring. Okay? Boring. Ugly e-learning just simply means it's boring. It just doesn't work. These are some examples. What do we got here? You have a PowerPoint. I mean, how many here, I'm sure many of you use PowerPoints, right? And who's heard of the term death by PowerPoint? I'm sure many of you you've done some nice ones, but you've also seen some really bad ones, right? So, and when you take that bad PowerPoint and you just throw it online and say, oh, here's my course, that's ugly. Okay, so it's a PowerPoint with pointless, monotone voiceovers, terrible 90s clip art. Anyway. And there's other things which are not even technically e-learning. You just record your classroom and put it online. That's not e-learning. Or putting a book on, it's got navigation, it's bad. You can't pause, resume the course. The information's out of date. There's animations that don't lend anything but just a guy floating around or some widget or something, and it just distracts the learner. Frustrating and confusing. This is all ugly learning, e-learning. Like this one, okay. Does that excite anybody? No. All right. Okay, it's a little bit better, but it's just, there's no juice to it. Okay, you got a little image in here, but just all text. So you can really produce some ugly e-learning. And there's a danger to this. When it's boring, when it's not good, what is the learner going to think? What's the conclusion the learner is going to have about the topic? The conclusion is going to be that the topic isn't valuable. I'm wasting my time. I mean, going through this thing. Okay, maybe I have to do it for my job or whatever, but they're not going to really take it into heart. So, another thing that's ugly, which we might even think about, is when you don't do it. When you don't have a way for your, in the case of an organization, their employees, or in our society, our members, when there's no way for them to learn things online, then what are they going to do? They're going to learn things online. And how are they going to do it? They're going to do it themselves. They're going to go on the internet, they're going to Google, they're going to search, they're going to find something, and what you find And what you find, and what you find, and what you find, who knows? Could be all over the map. There'll be no consistency. And at the end is, they might feel like something's missing here. I don't really know what it is, because as an organization, we haven't provided the opportunity for people to learn what they need to learn, and they're going to go try to learn it themselves and end up with perhaps not what you wanted them to learn. Try that on the internet today. What's the bad in e-learning? Well, basically it's when you take ugly learning, e-learning, and you dress it up. You know? You dress it up. Oh, I only have 5 minutes.
Then you have 10 minutes for question answer.
Okay, well, I'm going too slow. All right, so I'm going to really go quickly. These are just some examples. People using gimmicks here. I really wanted to show you some nice things. But this is the point. Investing in shiny graphics, gimmicky interactions, rather than good instructional design. So what is good instructional design? Instructional design means nothing. It means, this is a nice quote, the alternative to good design is just bad design. All right? Okay, wait a minute. There was one more here, I think. No, okay. So there are two ways that in the e-learning world they talk about instructional design. One system is called ADDIE. It's the ADDIE model. Oops. This thing is little. Okay, begins with analysis, conducting a needs analysis, audience, learning objectives, designing things, developing it, implementation and evaluation. This has been the standard model for some time. In e-learning, they're now suggesting that we use what's called the successive approximation model. This is some of you are in software development. You might have heard of agile development. So in the field of e-learning, they call this successive approximation, where you're prototyping, designing, reviewing, going through this more quickly. You generate a result a lot quicker in this way. We don't have time to get much more into this. Good instructional design provides a clear roadmap, maximizes learning engagement, and so on. I'm rushing now. It's engaged learning, okay? It's engaged. There's activities that are designed to challenge and engage students. There's problem-based learning. There's allowing students to establish their own learning goal. And it's supported learning. The students are not just oriented to the technology, but what they're expected to do in the course, and they're supported throughout the course, and there's mentoring involved. There are a lot of tools out there for creating this kind of e-learning. These are some of the ones that are most popular. Articulate, Captivate, Elucidate. This is, what's this stream? Live stream. And if we had the time, I would show you, I'll just show you just one quick. Is this going to work? No. What happened? How do I start this video? Can you click? Huh? Can you click it?
Where is the video?
Yeah, that's it. All right. Yeah. Oh, but there's no sound. You're not connected to sound. Anyway, so this is just some, examples of different kinds of e-learning objects which are created with tools like Captivate. So I'm going to go quickly here. Oh. Okay, well, I want to go past this. So, all right. Now, can you move us out of here?
Where do you want to go?
To the next slide. Okay. E-learning trends. There's, as I said, this industry is so big that people are producing tools right and left. Intelligent assistance, gamification, microlearning. We only have a few minutes. In fact, we have no minutes. So I'm going to do 2 slides Just to say, okay, we've talked a lot about, what's good, bad, ugly, but let's remember this. Let's collaborate. We'll talk about this. We have training that we're putting together that was already mentioned. Let's learn together. And these are some of the major e-learning platforms. You've heard of some of these, Udemy and Coursera, edX, and so on. So let's make our own. Okay? ISKCON e-learning platform. ISKCON Online has begun. We have Chant Now. We've got 3 courses online. And we're coming up with Bhakti.com, which will be a Bhakti University. Just what does it cost? Maybe there'll be some questions about this, so I will not go through this. Next steps: create a coalition of online course developers, providers, and facilitators. Set up and start training. Set up course delivery platform. Begin facilitating course providers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll take some questions.
Yes.
Questions on online
Any questions
learning.
about it? Otherwise,
Right there, Eklavya Prabhu at the back. Krishna Priya, can somebody give a mic? And Eklavya Prabhu used to have a very, very loud voice.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Prabhu. My question is, why does it take seemingly so long to develop 1 hour of course material? If I remember correctly, 21 to 50 hours of development. Why so much time? What goes into that time?
Well, the first thing is you. When you sit down to create a course and you're doing it right, first you have to understand your audience. That takes some time. Then you have to develop your learning objectives. That takes time. Then you have to do your, like Urmila was talking about, you do your research. You find out what other people are doing. That takes time. Then possibly you're doing this collaboratively, so you got a bunch of people together, and then you're brainstorming. Well, what's going to really work here? And then finally, now you're sitting down and you're going to write the content. And that takes time. And now you've got to put it together into some sort of presentation. And that takes, and it all takes time. And 1 hour, by the way, of a course is a lot of course. Our course that we did, we have 3 courses that we're doing. One is 7 lessons, just introductory. And then we have a 15-lesson course. And altogether, the actual content is 1 hour and 30 minutes. But there's 16 lessons. So, yeah, that's what takes time.
Thank you. Next question here.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your presentation. I just had a quick question in regards to teacher training and support. When I was in college, I actually did an essay on changing pedagogies for Urmila Mataji about online teaching, classroom teachers going into online teaching. And the most common thing that I found as an issue that the online teachers faced was training and support. They received none. So I know that you were discussing in your presentation, you touched on it very lightly, about arranging training for e-learning and for online teachers. And I was just wondering, you specified this for ISKCON Online. Will that training and support be provided to other ISKCON-based online courses, should there be any in the future?
Yes, in fact, I think Tapan Mishra already stated that the Ministry of Education itself will have a platform for training people in online learning. So we're collaborating ISKCON Online and Ministry of Education to produce that training material. So they'll be hopefully fairly soon. And in addition, it doesn't stop there. We propose that that be a continual process.
In fact, as we speak, we've already recorded some sessions, and they're currently under preparation because it takes time. You know, there was a question Eklavya Prabhu asked. Of course, there's the recording, then the editing, and you yourself, you're so familiar with it, Eklavya Prabhu. So that takes time as well to bring it properly. Some more questions. We can take one more question. Yes, Eknath Mahaprabhu.
Seeing the relevance of your presentation and how in the future, in 10, 15 years more from now, if you're not online on education, you are not. So seeing that necessity to become digital or digitalize in the future, what the ministry is doing to put together all the different projects, because I see that it has a big potential, $300 billion. I'm an educator. I want to open my own platform so I can get part of the market. And he is going to do exactly the same with the same content to open part of his market. So how can we cooperate in the Ministry of Education that the ministry become like an iPhone and all of us will become like different applications and we contribute to a bigger cause?
Thank you for that question. May I take that? Okay.
Sure.
Eknath Prabhu, so first of all, in order to enable our well-meaning, enthusiastic and skilled educators to train them to become online educators, there's a training required. So the first step that we're doing at the ministry is to try to create a training for the trainers. Once our trainers are ready, then we can start creating many platforms. So the ministry's role is to provide the training. In addition, in order to take this program forward, as Pancharatna Prabhu mentioned, we've invited him to participate in this program, lead this program, design this program. There is Mahatma Prabhu involved, there's Janmashtami Prabhu involved, and there is Prana Prabhu involved now. So we are getting more and more devotees involved, those who have experience in this field, to put together this training for the devotees. So I think we should go step by step so that we don't find ourselves in one of those ugly boxes of somebody's presentation after 6 months. You know, here is ISKCON, you know, their material. Right? I say it in jest. I say it in jest with folded hands.
And
Thank you.
If I could add to that, as I said, we want to put this up. ISKCON's Udemy. It shouldn't be that everyone has to create. You can, you go ahead, make your own platform. That's fine. We're not saying you shouldn't do that, but it shouldn't be required. We will have a platform. We will have a support team. We will have a marketing organization. We will have an in-house agency that if you come up with your instructional design, you can get it produced. We will have these tools as well.